You have the honor of being the first chapter of Antifa in the Hamptons. Why am I the leader? Because I am in the system, but I have defected, and now I agree with you. We are going to topple the patriarchy. And what is the patriarchy?
Jeff Goldstein.
Jeff Goldstein, who's fucking my ex-wife. Correct. We're going to dismantle capitalism. And what is capitalism?
Any hedge fund that's bigger than yours.
Any hedge fund bigger than mine, correct. I have heard that certain people at the IRS are transphobic. What we're gonna have to do is get in there and let them know that this is unacceptable behavior. The IRS are the cops too. You will all have a mini child's golf club for self-defense. We will train on a plush giraffe that I bought for my daughter before my wife won custody of her. You're trying to fuck my ex-wife? Is that what you're doing? You're trying to destroy your family? You will train day and night on the giraffe until you are ready for hand-to-hand combat. My commitment to social justice is unparalleled. I don't care what I have to do. Everybody that doesn't have a club has a pool noodle because you cannot handle the clubs yet. You will graduate to club. Now remember, you don't work for George Soros anymore, you work for me.
I own these streets, I run this city, and I got a gang to run it with me. Hard as nails, cool as ice. You wanna mess with us? Well, think twice, 'cause I got a Puerto Rican and a nervous Jew, intimidating Russian with a fake tattoo. I got a hot blonde with plastic boobs, but there's something missing from my crew. I need a black man in my gang, a black man doing black man things. I need a black man in my crew. Could it be you? I got the dumb guy who gets it wrong, the young boy who tags along, the mafioso and the wheelchair guy, and the quiet one from Tokyo who's good with knives. I got the tough chick who might be gay, and both types of Indian. I got the fat guy with his pants half down, and a guy who's kind of mocked up, but he just ain't black enough to be the black man in my gang. A black man doing black man things. I need a black man in my crew. Could it be you? So what you say, man? You wanna be in my gang?
I don't know, man. What are the hours?
9 to 5 with an hour for lunch. And I'm gonna need to see some references.
I got your references right here, buddy.
I like your style, kid. Welcome to my gang. Black man in my gang. A black man doing black man things. He's the black man in my crew. And you could be too. Black man in my gang. A black man doing black man things. Now he's the black man in my crew. And you could be too.
All right, you guys, welcome back to another solo discussion. Today's topic, how Antifa weaponized the Black community. And I've been struggling to think of where to start with this one, so I think the best way to do it is just to tell some stories of things that I saw, things that I regrettably did. See where it goes. So I've been open with it before that the plight of the Black community and police brutality, it was just the jumping off point. It really could have been any given issue, depending on what the level of media attention would have been. But I certainly think it was a long time coming, given a lot of the violence that does happen in that community, a lot of things that do happen with police brutality. There's an extraordinary amount of African Americans that get caught in the crossfire of bad policing more often than not than a lot of other races, and that's a fact. Certainly not everywhere, case by case, there's specifics and everything, but on average, things were not going great for Black people. And whenever the death of George Floyd went down, that was the activation point. And following that, obviously, just almost every day, it was another Black person getting killed. And while that's never a good thing, there were a lot of those stories to where in hindsight, it was like you get the rest of the videotape and you're like, huh. Not a lot of these people didn't turn out to be the martyrs that they were hyped up to be. And in my case, I know a lot of people think very differently on this, and to each their own. Not everybody's going to agree on every single point. And I don't mean to say this to be disrespectful to anybody's point of view, but if I had seen the full George Floyd tapes leading up to Black Lives Matter, I would have never marched in his name. Probably would have still marched, but I wouldn't be talking about George Floyd, getting in fights with people over George Floyd, axing friends on social media because of George Floyd. Like, we all kind of got on our high horses a little bit over that. And meanwhile, there'd be people on the right who are saying, well, he swallowed some drugs and this and this and this. And a lot of the time that information wouldn't get out because it would be censored, shut down. And, these people were just told they're crazy. They're crazy. I told people countless times, he didn't swallow a ball of fentanyl. You're fucking crazy. Sitting here a few years ago, see the video from my own eyes after I started the channel, mind you. And I was just kind of like, oh, interesting. But I think especially for a lot of blue cities, you got to be real about the damage done. These were cities who brought in people of color because, we champion diversity. Bring your family here. They'll be safe. We'll take care of you. We'll love you. And then those communities ultimately wound up getting destroyed. And while at the beginning of Antifa, there were a lot of Black members and Black people that were showing up wearing black for the cause, very quickly that faded out because what a lot of them realized is they were in the middle of a white man's jihad, which is really what I call this far left extremism. It is the wrath of the liberal white man. Same in the trans community. All this, of course, brought to you by people who say that white people are the devil and they're controlling everything and they just want to take over everything. And, they have all the privilege and they have all the power. It's like, yeah, some of us. And again, I'm guilty of a lot of this myself. Like, that's why I was in this situation, why I have to speak out to the way that I do. But, I shared the story earlier on the channel of a gentleman who was running for mayor. Sorry, his name's slipping my mind at the moment. Isaiah Wagner. How I watched him basically stand in front of a gun because an angry far-right radical came out, started pointing an AR-15 into the crowd, and he was doing the smart thing. He was doing a brave thing while all the white people were getting uppity. Well, I'm telling people to run away, and a couple of white boys on their bikes with some bandanas are coming on with bats, going to beat his ass and hit his car, which only caused further damage as he drove through the crowd. Didn't hit anybody, to my knowledge, except for Isaiah Wagner, I believe, in the end. But just a bunch of white people starting to panic. And that sucked because there was a lot of really good African-American people out there who were just there to tell their stories. Like, hey, cop beat me, got raped, kid got taken away, kid got shot, this. And they're out there trying to utilize this moment to be like, hey, this is our time. Like, we're going to talk about these things. And white people like me said, nope. Granted, I was a lot less vicious with things, but I had a lot of weak moments to where I did kind of allow my ideological views to overshadow real pain in people. So, as things were starting to turn in Black Lives Matter, I can remember real specifically, it was final week. And I want to say this was 2020 before the summer kicked off. So a couple months before I wound up leaving, if I'm not mistaken. And there had been nightly protests of roaming through the U of O campus. Sorry, ice machine's going off. Roaming through the U of O campus, and people with, bullhorns and fireworks and signs and all that. And the goal was essentially to go around and get people out of their houses, join in the streets, and then we would just go parade around town screaming about whatever. And at first it was kind of cool, and it was kind of like, yeah, we're marching through the community. This feels a little more personal. But people began to get very, very resentful of the fact that people weren't coming out of their homes. Like, A, COVID was going on. B, finals week. A lot of people are paying thousands and thousands of dollars to go to college over at the U of O, which was just right up the road. They had to get their test done. They had to study for that. And a lot of them would try to say that from the windows, like, hey, we support you guys. We love you guys. And I was very sympathetic to that. I never yelled fuck you or anything like that to anybody. I was kind of starting to look back in horror at everything that was going on around me, because then it was, fuck you, you piece of shit, and da-na-na-na-na. And of course you're staying in there because you're privileged and done, and people are dying out here, and we're fighting in the streets. And the black people get in that pretty hard too. The black people that were there, they would get very vicious if they saw a white face not coming outside their home. But that was also at a point where a lot of the more sane individuals were dropping off. But that was a particular style of protest, the going out into the U of O neighborhoods, where that probably happened about a dozen times, and you could see the filtration as it was going through. And a couple more meetings after that, or a couple more meetups after that, it was just white faces. And the night that had happened, there was a woman out, and I remember seeing her, larger black woman in a wheelchair. She had an oxygen tank, and her daughter sitting out there, their fist in the air, and, Black Lives Matter, the whole thing. And I didn't realize that anything had happened until I went into Reddit the next day. And essentially, this woman who was the older lady's daughter was going off, just being like, you fucking white people have no idea. And she was even calling out the black people too. They're like, my mother lived through some of the most horrendous racist shit you can possibly imagine. And I guess what had happened was she began getting chastised by people within the group. I believe it's a mixed group of color, white and black. But they're giving her shit because she's just not as passionate as them. How can you, of all people, an elderly black woman, sit here and do nothing while we're all out here doing something? Again, the woman was on an oxygen tank. So, moments like that, moments of all of a sudden watching white people scream the N-word in unison with black people, just going with it and no one saying anything. Bear in mind how entirely woke and indoctrinated and cult-like this environment is. In the heat of the moment, anyone can say the N-word. Anyone could say the N-word. Anyone can call someone a coon or an Uncle Tom or this or that, especially if the cop's black, then everyone can definitely do it. And do what they did. And what do you think that did to the more sane black people sitting on the side? They're sitting there like, oh, hell no. What the hell? And that's the thing, too, is like, I might not have been so deep into this if I actually had some black friends at the time. I had black people in my life, people that I worked with, been around, but people like us, we didn't really have black friends. And the ones that did, by the end, didn't have a lot of them. Unless those black friends happen to be trans, because then they're full-blown ideologues. But I remember sitting there one night, and a couple of my neighbors that I would go to some of the protests with, I had a bunch of signs on the corner of my apartment. Like my apartment was like the most decked out, lived out house on the corner. There was the rainbow flag and the American flags and the BLM and the ACAB. And you walk down the alley and it's just all you can see. It's just eye catching. And, you know, I had neighbors were there. They were having to get together. And a black guy I never met came out to the back balcony. And he's like, oh, hey, man, I like your sign. I'm like, oh, thanks. He's like, you hand paint that yourself? I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, appreciate that. I'm like, hell yeah, thanks, man. And I gave him a peace sign, but he thought I put a fist in the air. And he just like sighed and he's just, man, don't do that. I didn't even correct him. I was just because I knew exactly what he was talking about. But then he started to kind of like have a little discussion with me about one of my neighbors who was more politically active than any of us. She was there when the federal courthouses got stormed. She was there for a lot of the Portland riot. She would go often and share videos with us, you know. And she's really our connection to know what was happening in downtown Portland as those riots were breaking out. But he came out and he started talking to her, and he's just about her, and he's just like, these white people can't talk to black people anymore. It's like, I'm just like, what do you mean? It's just like this. It's getting so uncomfortable. And, you know, he was just like, you know, and he's like, I appreciate the signs and all that. And, you know, do what you're going to do. But he's like, but there's just some people. And he looked back to the apartment. He's just like, who need to be quiet. And I was just like, ooh. And she was getting a lot out of control at the time. So I knew exactly what he was saying. But, you know, little moments like that where a black person does come by and you see how they're actually feeling about things. It's pretty eye-opening because a lot of what white people were doing in Antifa and a lot of the people I was hanging around is they were talking over black people, educating them on their own struggles, you know, while every day was just a different struggle session for them about how their whiteness contributed to the hatred of the world and the whiteness contributed to the erasure and the murder of black people and their whiteness did this and their whiteness did that. And meanwhile, the core aspects of their air quote whiteness that they like to talk about and purport is coming out full force. And they are, you know, becoming these types of people that they're claiming to champion themselves against. And yeah, they also became colonizers with Chaz, the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone in Seattle during the Summer of Love. Who, mind you, these colonizers realized immediately, oh, we need a border wall. Otherwise, this ain't going to work. But while all of this sounds silly, I just feel like so many people forget the fire and the flames and the destruction. And I think realistically what happened is a lot of those black people that dropped out of Antifa probably went to go start their own shit. Because it's what everybody else was doing. And Lord knows what fucking came out of that. You know? Hell, I mean, if you want to go know some stories, just go look at Andy No's YouTube channel. Like, you can see where these people wound up and who they became. You know, Black Lives Matter was never about George Floyd. The people in charge of the operation came out and said they were highly trained Marxists. They bought mansions for millions and millions of dollars. George Floyd's family didn't get shit. All these black families didn't get shit. Reverend Al Sharpton got a crap ton of money. The families didn't get crap. They just got to have their faces plastered everywhere and get to be used as martyrs for a new civil war that we tried to start. Because let's bear this in mind. There was not a single person at these protests who were talking about these things like these were just protests. This was going to go into a war. We all went in there with the expectation that this was going to be a civil war. And that more than likely, from our perspective, it was going to be race-based. So everybody's trying to get on the right team. Everyone wants a black man on their side for the war, right? And a lot of black people are like, we don't want a fucking war. We want reform. We want healthy neighborhoods for our kids. We want a safe education system. We want our kids to stop getting shot. We want them to stop turning into little fucking gangbangers. They're like, we have a lot of things to deal with, and war isn't really on the table right now. Even the Black Panthers, man, during the Black Lives Matter movements, there was time where like the Black Panthers or the Black militias would go to the far righters and they would shake hands. They'd be like, hey, we're not doing this today. You want to stay here with your guns? We want to stay here with our guns. Can we be men about this? And you'd see people who've seen war and been through hell do not want to see it. These communities were going through hell for a very long time in many different aspects. Jim Crow, slavery, you name all the things, we all fucking know them. Uppity white kids wanted a war. And how fucking disrespectful is that? Black people were our prop. They were there to make us look good, make us feel good, give us a little moral boost in our heads that we're fighting the good fight because look at all these black people. I'm here hanging out with black people. I'm here talking to black people. I'm here screaming about black people. We should have been worried about cleaning up our own mess, our own house, because very racist shit that we did. It was very damaging racially. You know, there's a lot of kids now that are growing up after having been through all this, and they're just, you know, the white kids are making white friends, the black kids are making black friends, and there's less integration going on in a lot of cases because everyone's so fucking hostile that we're teaching the younger generations to stick with your own, which is incredibly unhealthy, and we're going to see what that does in 20 years. So I don't know what much more to say on that one. I mean, I got a bunch more stories, probably tell them in due time, but also it's just like, leave black people out of your stupid shit. Like, black people don't need a white savior. They need unity, friends. We all just need to come together and do what Martin Luther King did, focus on the content of a person's character. Because Antifa really demonstrated that a lot of my generation has very, very poor character, very little in terms of moral sensibilities, you know, proper boundaries in society. There's a huge lack of respect. No one gives a shit about their elders. No one cares about anybody's lived experience as much as they'll preach about it. It's really selfish is what it is. And I think black people have suffered enough for the selfishness of white people. So yeah, some people just need to lay off a bit. Don't really know what more to say on that one, but thank you guys for being here. I know it was a super short discussion, but I got a couple other videos I'm going to record right after this. So yeah, just share these videos around. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And I don't know. I guess I just want to say one more thing. If anybody out there has been in this position, seen these types of stories, you know, had any role to play in it like I did, just speak out about it. Because a lot of the younger generations now, because so much of the anarchy and the violence has been hidden and censored, like, they're not learning about this. The younger generations just coming out of high school, they don't know about Chaz. They know a little bit about Portland. You mentioned Antifa, they're like, oh, that thing in Portland, it's like, no, that international insurrection communism. It's like there's no context for so many of these kids coming up now, and they really need it because this is going to happen again. It's going to happen again, and people need to be ready. All right. I love you guys. Peace and love.
It's okay to be racist, as long as you hating on the Caucasians, teaching white kids that their shade's the same as school shooters and rapists. Maybe I'm tripping because the white children have been getting taught that they got white privilege by the white guys in the high heels who identify as the white women. I'm not proud to be white, but I'm fine with it, because I'm not allowed to have pride in it, because the colonizers and the white bigots made white history my business. I ain't never gonna give a damn if you like me. I ain't gonna trip when they stereotype me. I'm a white boy in a color, to treat every man as if he was my brother. But now that we're grown up, we hate one another for all of the ways that we struggle and suffer. They coming for blood and we running for cover. The government wants us divided and dumber, addicted and drunk in the gutter, so we never wake up and never recover. Call me culture vulture cause I rap good. I don't pop Zans or smoke backwoods, but they call me a wigger and label me Hitler and hate like I'm wearing a Klan hood. It ain't left or right or black or white, it's good and evil. Elite folks hate normal people. United we stand and divided we fall. America, we gotta get real. You were segregated, that was not fair. You were enslaved, they did not care. But you were never on a plantation and my generation was not there. That's trauma in your DNA, causing what we see today. I pray to God you staying strong, don't wanna see no man in pain. You white folks, I'm embarrassed. Some of y'all are such Karens. That prejudice you inherited was racism from your parents. Get that poison out your veins. Whites and blacks are all the same. They want us in our graves, just let me try to explain. I swear they want us in a race war, dying every day for whose lives matter more. I won't be dying in the race war. Our government is paid for, cause our lives matter more.
If you born black, you lose. Might as well go get that. You gon' die before you 25, get shot over your shoes. You gon' get killed by police even when you follow the rules. If you listen to the news, you gon' believe all this is true. True, I ain't feel no white guilt. They don't ride for me when I'm killed. I guess white lies don't matter, sad, but that's the way that I feel. I feel like they feel like I don't know what they all call me. Cis white male, bigot, racist, he's a Nazi. That's not me. I'm not one of these white liberal commies who think black America needs allies in their army. Your neighborhood's all gay and claim you pro-black, but you faking. Guys are dying on the pavement. All your hashtags won't save them. That ain't gangster. People begging for their life still. I know white people who can't afford to pay their light bill, who might feel like they the ones who losing their life, when the worst thing you could be is not ashamed to be white. White privilege is a system they position for division. If you black, you go to prison. If you white, your life is different. Take some money, race religion, sprinkle in some ammunition, and make everyone believe that the other team is the villain. I ain't pro-black, I ain't pro-white, I'm pro-American. Every color turns up bones one day when you bury them. Whites and blacks are all the same. They want us in our grave, just let me try to explain.
I swear they want us in a race war, dying every day for whose lives matter more. I won't be dying in the race war. Our government is paid for, cause our lives matter more.
They want us in a race war, dying in the streets. Should be us against them, but it's you against me. Ain't nobody gonna win, everybody gon' see that the color of your skin don't change the color that you bleed.
I swear they want us in a race war, dying every day for whose lives matter.